She was a foreigner, a widow, a woman with no future in a society that valued family, land, and lineage above all else. She had every reason to give up, every reason to turn back, every reason to save herself, but love made her stay, and that one decision of loyalty would write one of the most beautiful love stories ever told. Her name was Ruth, and this is her story. It started with tragedy. Ruth was living in Moab, married to an Israelite man whose family had moved there to escape a famine. For 10 years, she knew happiness. She had a husband she loved, and a mother-in-law, Naomi, who became like her own mother. But then, in a series of cruel blows, death struck. First her then her husband, then her brother-in-law, 3 women, 3 widows, 3 lives shattered. Naomi decided to return to her homeland, Bethlehem. She urged her 2 daughters, Law, Ruth, and Orpah, to go back to their own families and start over. It was the logical choice. They were young, Moabite, and had no obligation to follow an old, bitter woman to a foreign land. Orpah tearfully said goodbye and left. But Ruth stayed. When Naomi pressed her to leave, Ruth spoke words that would echo through eternity. Don't urge me to leave you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. This wasn't just loyalty. This was a covenant, a woman choosing sacrifice over security, the unknown over the familiar. Ruth had seen something in Naomi's God that made her willing to risk everything. They arrived in Bethlehem during the barley harvest, 2 widows with nothing. In that culture, they were invisible, vulnerable, one step away from starvation. But Ruth refused to be passive. She asked Naomi if she could go to the fields and pick up leftover grain, the work reserved for the poorest of the poor. She wasn't too proud. She would do whatever it took to care for Naomi. She ended up in a field belonging to a man named Boaz. She didn't know it then, but this was no accident. This was providence. This was God writing a love story in the margins of her suffering. Boaz was a wealthy, respected, and kind man. He was also a relative of Naomi's late husband, a kinsman redeemer, someone who could legally restore what the family had lost. When Boaz saw Ruth working, something stirred in his heart. He asked, "Who is that young woman?" He learned she was the Moabite who had returned with Naomi, a hard worker who had been gleaning since morning. He approached her, his words gentle and protective. "My daughter, stay here in my fields. I've told my men not to bother you. When you're thirsty, drink from our water." Ruth was stunned. She fell at his feet and asked, "Why have I found such favor in your eyes, that you notice me, a foreigner?" Boaz replied, "I've been told all about what you've done for your mother-in-law, how you left your homeland to live with the people you didn't know. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." He saw her, not just her poverty or her foreignness. He saw her character, her sacrifice, her faithfulness. That day, Ruth went home with more grain than she could carry. When Naomi heard the man's name was Boaz, her breath caught. Hope, for the first time in years, flickered in her heart. She began to see God's hand in all of it. Then came the boldest moment. On Naomi's advice, Ruth went to Boaz at night on the threshing floor. She uncovered his feet and laid down a symbolic act, asking him to be her redeemer. When he awoke, startled, she said, "I am your servant Ruth. Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a kinsman redeemer." Boaz's heart soared. He praised her character and promised to do all she asked. True to his word, he went to the city gate the next day and legally secured the right to redeem her and Naomi's land. The other relative didn't want the complication, but Boaz saw the treasure. So Ruth, the foreign widow with nothing, became the wife of one of Bethlehem's most respected men. But the story doesn't end there. God blessed them with a son, Obed, and the women of Bethlehem told Naomi, "Your daughter-in-law who loves you is better to you than 7 sons." Naomi, who had returned empty, was now full. And here's the breathtaking part. Obed became the father of Jesse. Jesse became the father of King David, and from David's line, centuries later, came Jesus Christ, the ultimate kinsman redeemer for all of humanity. Ruth, the outsider, became the great-grandmother of Israel's greatest king and an ancestor of the Messiah. This is what redemption looks like. Maybe you feel like you're in your own barley field right now, picking up scraps, wondering if anyone sees you. Maybe you feel lost, forgotten, or invisible. Ruth's story teaches us, God sees. God honors, God redeems. Your faithfulness in the small, hard, hidden things matters. The field you're in right now might be the very place your Boaz is waiting. Don't give up. The same God who orchestrated Ruth's redemption is still writing love stories today. Subscribe for more biblical stories that will inspire your faith. Share this with someone who needs to hear that their story of loss can become a story of legacy. Remember this truth: you might feel like you're just gleaning scraps, but God sees you. Your redemption story is being written. Keep faith, keep gleaning. The best is yet to come.